So hello friends, in the previous episode we saw how our Luo Feng sets out into the depths of that boat universe to find the hidden legacy of Shi. But during this journey of his, he accidentally enters an extremely dangerous place, namely the God Disaster Valley. The moment he steps in there, he comes face to face with a very greedy and powerful villain named Yin Tuo. That greedy Yin Tuo directly tries to forcibly snatch Luo Feng's precious silver wings, the Shiwu wings. Following this, a very terrifying and explosive fight breaks out between the two of them. But right in the middle of that battle, suddenly two very high-level and dangerous powerhouses storm in, who were members of the God Eye clan. One of them was the 5 Chaos Master, and the other was the Ultimate Arrow Master. The arrival of these two completely turns the tide of the entire battle, and this is exactly where our previous episode ended. Now today's story begins right from where Luo Feng is standing, directly in front of that 5 Chaos Master. As soon as the fight begins, the 5 Chaos Master, without wasting a single second, activates the power of his most dangerous domain, True Treasure. In the blink of an eye, such massive and terrifying waves of water erupt from within him that they submerge the entire area. Seeing this sudden attack, Babata, who is sitting inside the World Ring, also becomes completely alert. He immediately explains the seriousness of the situation to Luo Feng, saying, "Be careful, Luo Feng, this is no ordinary enemy. The one standing before you is a legendary level 5 Universe Master. His absolute combat strength is so immense that he can stand directly on par with our Primal Chaos City leader." Babata further reveals that the source of his true power comes from the inheritance line of the Beast God, and the biggest trouble of all is that this single villain has completely mastered 5 different Beast God paths simultaneously. Not only this, he also possesses a massive collection of high-grade true treasures. Meanwhile, the Ultimate Arrow Master, standing on the other side, bursts out laughing upon seeing this entire spectacle. He starts mocking Yin Tuo loudly from right there, saying, "Shame on you, Yin Tuo. You are such an old and experienced being of the first reincarnation era. Yet look at your condition. You failed so miserably that you couldn't even snatch those silver wings from a mere human child." The Ultimate Arrow Master doesn't stop there. He humiliates him even further, saying, "If I were in your place and met with such failure at the hands of a kid, I would have ended my own life out of sheer shame." Hearing such a massive insult, Yin Tuo's anger reaches the 7th heaven. He completely loses his temper and fires back, shouting, "Oh hello, don't talk so big. If you two are so proud of yourselves, then go ahead and try to snatch those wings from that boy yourself, lest it happens that you meet the same miserable fate as I did." In the meantime, Luo Feng keeps his mind absolutely calm, because he knows that fighting both of them at the same time right now would be suicidal. He secretly scans his surrounding environment to find an escape route to run away. Just then, his eyes fall upon a dark underground path built right below. But Luo Feng hesitates a little before going there, because the strategic map he had obtained from Shi had no record of this underground sector at all. This simply meant that if he went inside this unknown path, he would get trapped in a blind spot, where there could be unknown dangers at every single step. Luo Feng thinks with a cold mind that taking such a reckless risk without thinking wouldn't be wise. It is far better to stay right here and face these two bravely than to jump straight into the jaws of an unknown death. Just then, the Ultimate Arrow Master steps directly forward and openly threatens Luo Feng, saying, "Boy, if you value your life, then hand over those Shiwu wings to us quietly, without playing any tricks. If you listen to me, I promise that your life will be spared, meaning you will be left alive." But our Luo Feng is not afraid of anyone's threats. He rejects his demand straight to his face. Hearing this, the Ultimate Arrow Master goes mad with rage and instantly shoots a massive and high-velocity giant arrow directly at Luo Feng with all his might. That arrow arrives at such a dangerous speed that ripping through the air, it charges straight toward Luo Feng's chest. But at the nick of time, Luo Feng utilizes the extreme defensive properties of his Shiwu wings. He brings his glowing wings forward, and that dangerous arrow directly collides with those wings, failing to harm even a single hair on Luo Feng. Luo Feng hadn't even fully recovered yet when the 5 Chaos Master also makes his move. He closes his eyes, and as he does so, a very violent and massive commotion suddenly begins to occur within the tidal domain that was spread all around. From right beneath that surging tidal domain of water, a terrifyingly giant hand suddenly begins to emerge. In truth, this was no ordinary hand, but a living miracle of the 5 Chaos Master's most dangerous 5-element technique. The size of this hand was so cosmic and massive that it covers the entire sky, and using this very colossal hand, the 5 Chaos Master moves it forward to crush Luo Feng alive right there. But thanks to Luo Feng's reflexes and the swift maneuvers of his Shiwu wings, he cuts sharply through the air. He not only extricates himself from the clutches of that colossal hand, but also shatters that giant hand into pieces with his own strength. Seeing this sudden and fierce retaliation from Luo Feng, the 5 Chaos Master, instead of being astonished, becomes even more interested in him. Now, he was finding even more pleasure in the prospect of completely crushing Luo Feng. Without any delay, he begins to channel his endless, undying energy and reinforces his 5-element technique, making it stronger than ever before. Due to this, the grasping power of that massive hand increases manifold in an instant, and floating through the air once again, it lunges toward Luo Feng to clamp down on him. Sensing the danger, Luo Feng also accelerates and immediately deploys the protective barrier of his miniature universe technique for his defense. But what happened next completely surprised everyone present there. That strong barrier of the miniature universe fails to withstand the overwhelming pressure of that 5-element hand, and that terrifying hand rips through the barrier like a straw, penetrating straight inside. Witnessing this sight, the 5 Chaos Master and his companion, the Ultimate Arrow Master, assume in their hearts that the game is finally over, and victory is entirely theirs. But right then, the tables turn, as Luo Feng suddenly triggers the full potential of his Shiwu wings. This causes an explosive surge of power to erupt from within him, and this energy goes straight to immensely amplify and expand his Golden Country domain. Seeing this sudden and massive spike in energy, the 5 Chaos Master is also completely shocked, not even getting a moment to steady himself. Before he can make any changes to his technique, Luo Feng's reinforced Golden Country halts the crushing force of that 5-element hand midway. However, the 5 Chaos Master was not one to give up so easily. Seeing this restriction imposed upon him, he flies into a rage and accelerates his assault even further. He highly amplifies the strength of his undying body and directly stomps his heavy foot down upon Luo Feng's protective barrier. Due to this tremendous and weighty attack, Luo Feng is thrown back into a completely defensive mode once again. An arrogant smile plays across the 5 Chaos Master's face, and he says tauntingly, "Boy, I was actually going to use my full power against you, but looking at your limits, I feel that wasting my energy on you is completely futile." He hadn't even finished his sentence when suddenly, a highly violent and massive earthquake erupts from the outside, across that entire region. The whole area begins to tremble, as if the entire valley is about to be destroyed, and within a single second, the proud tidal wave domain of the 5 Chaos Master shatters like glass. Ripping through the smoke of that destruction, a highly scorching and gargantuan entity emerges from behind, upon seeing which the color drains from the face of every single cultivator present there. For it was none other than the ultimate and absolute ruler of that entire God Disaster Valley, the Flame-Eyes Giant itself. Seeing that monster right in front of them, absolute panic spreads across the entire battlefield, leaving everyone utterly speechless. The very people who were bent on taking each other's lives just a moment ago completely forget their mutual enmity and instantly try to run away with their tails between their legs. Luo Feng, the 5 Chaos Master, the Ultimate Arrow Master, and Yin Tuo, everyone begins to scamper in different directions. But our Luo Feng is a highly shrewd and fast actor. Instead of running away, he utilizes his amplified Golden Country domain and traps all 3 of them within its bounds. He severely constricts their movements with the pressure of his domain, locking them in place. He casts a cold and murderous gaze at the 3 of them and loudly declares, "No one will try to run away from here today. Everyone stays right here." Those 3 rival masters frantically attempt to shatter that golden domain, putting in all their might. However, Luo Feng's domain was so incredible that even after breaking, it was regenerating at blinding speed, keeping them locked in the same spot. Seeing this, the 5 Chaos Master goes completely mad with rage. He was now deeply regretting in his heart why he had wasted time playing around earlier. If only he had used his full power to execute Luo Feng right from the start. Trapped nearby, Yin Tuo gets terribly frightened and begins to beg Luo Feng for mercy, saying, "Luo Feng, please let me go from here. I had already backed off and stopped attacking you." But Luo Feng outright refuses his plea and says mockingly, "If we all have to die here today, then why don't we become good friends forever after death?" Because of this restriction by Luo Feng, the escaping speed of all of them had become extremely slow. Consequently, that terrifying flame-eyes giant closes in right on top of them in a flash, and the sound of its thundering footsteps advances straight through the Golden Country domain. The structural breach caused by that monster's feat was so horrific that it completely shatters our Golden Country domain. However, this destruction brings an advantage to the remaining masters as well, because the moment the path opens up, they all narrowly escape a direct and lethal stomp from that giant monster. Coming out of that captivity, the 5 Chaos Master becomes beside himself with rage, and looking toward Luo Feng, takes a terrifying blood oath, shouting, "Boy, I will never forget this humiliation, and wherever you go in the entire universe, I will hunt you down ruthlessly." But our Luo Feng completely ignores his threat and responds very calmly, "Fine, I will wait for you. In truth, something else entirely was running through Luo Feng's mind at this moment. He was considering the 5 Chaos Master not as a threat, but as a perfect stepping stone for his cultivation. Now, as they were all putting their entire lives on the line to run away from that colossal flame-eyed giant, Luo Feng increases the special pressure of his golden country even further, to make the game even more difficult. This causes the speed of his enemies to slow down drastically once again. While running, he hurls a stark, ultimatum toward the 3 of them, saying, "If you all want to survive this crisis, you must hand over your true treasures to me. In exchange for your safety, this is your toll tax." From behind, the echo of the flame-eyed giant's footsteps had arrived right over their heads, and the earth was trembling. But those arrogant masters were so incredibly proud that they flatly refused to make peace with Luo Feng or surrender their precious treasures. Instead of listening to Luo Feng, they considered it far better to face the wrath of that monster. To protect himself, Yin Tuo activates the entire foundation of his beast god's secret techniques so that he can withstand the impact. On the other hand, the 5 Chaos Master instantly summons his most exclusive pinnacle palace type, True Treasure, and in the blink of an eye, taking his companion, Ultimate Arrow Master along, he hides inside that flying palace. Now it was our Luo Feng's turn, so without any delay he deploys the absolute protection of his greatest strength, the Star Tower, and to ensure no one recognizes it from the outside, he alters its outward appearance, giving it the shape of a pyramid. Not only this, he utilizes the Blood Cloud Pearl possessed by his golden horned beast body, so that the true identity of the Star Tower remains completely hidden from the entire world, and no one gets even a whisper of it. Now the worst situation on the battlefield was Yin Tuo's, because he did not possess any true treasure like a flying palace to hide inside. He stood completely exposed in that open ground, and right then a catastrophic strike from the flame-eyed giant lands directly upon him. Due to bearing the entire impact of that unmitigated and terrifying explosion all alone, Yin Tuo's condition goes from bad to worse, and he slips directly into a near-death state, reaching the very brink of death. Meanwhile, the others remain completely safe and protected, inside their respective protective flying palaces. But a twist comes into the story, when, beneath the depths of the ground, Yin Tuo uses his unique fluid-based physique to seep down into the underground world like water. In that dense darkness, his liquid body slowly begins to reform, but this time, he had suffered a catastrophic loss. In just a single attack from that monster, all his true treasures were heavily damaged, and he had completely burned away nearly 90% of his undying divine energy, leaving him hollow from within. Finding himself in this agonizing condition, he pins the entire blame for this disaster squarely on the 5 Chaos Master. He loses his temper completely and vows that he will expose the truth of those silver wings to the entire world, turning that human child's life into a living nightmare. He decides to broadcast across the entire cosmos that the Shivu wings are no ordinary wings, but are just one rank below a supreme true treasure. And at the same time, to completely ruin the 5 Chaos Master, he will also spread a rumor that a peak level 5 Universe Master turned out to be such a massive failure that he couldn't even handle a mere human rookie, whose power was only equivalent to a level 2 Master. He knew that this widespread humiliation would completely drag the 5 Chaos Master's reputation through the mud. On the other side, piloting his pinnacle palace True Treasure, the 5 Chaos Master was driving the spaceship like crazy, because that terrifying flame-eyed giant had still not calmed down, and was relentlessly charging after his ship to crush it. To rid himself of that monster's clutches once and for all, the 5 Chaos Master is left with no other choice. Out of sheer desperation, he veers his ship directly toward a highly dangerous and violent magma vortex visible ahead. This terrifying whirlpool of lava was actually a dangerous gateway, leading straight to another sector that everyone knew as the Blazing Water Lake, or Yin Tuo Lake. Pushing the ship into that lava, the 5 Chaos Master was cursing Luo Feng's name in rage and plotting his revenge in his heart. But he was completely unaware that our Luo Feng was also navigating those very magma currents with great ease, using his Star Tower. Because the velocity and durability of the Star Tower were the most ultimate in the world, Luo Feng overtakes the 5 Chaos Master in the blink of an eye and dives into that magma vortex ahead of him. Even though the Star Tower was completely indestructible, the shockwaves of that lava whirlpool were so dangerous that Luo Feng could feel the jolts even while sitting inside. Still, he was in a million times better and safer position than the 5 Chaos Master, who was relying solely on a pinnacle-level palace. Logically calculating, a pinnacle-level flying palace could not withstand the destructive friction and pressure of that dangerous magma vortex for long, and stood every chance of being destroyed, whereas Luo Feng's Star Tower was a supreme fortress that could cross such places in a trice. And Luo Feng's assumption turns out to be absolutely true. As they were moving further away from the flame-eyed giant, the precious pinnacle flying palace of the 5 Chaos Master and the Ultimate Arrow Master begins to buckle and creak midway due to the heavy pressure of the lava, coming to the very verge of breaking apart. to prevent their ship's defensive barriers from shattering, and to stabilize it, both of them were having to burn their undying divine energy like crazy. Trapped inside that ship, the ultimate Arrow Master was shivering with fear and praying for his life, because he had no clone technique or any means to resurrect, and dying here meant permanent death forever. The 5 Chaos Master's situation was slightly better than his, but he too could not relax, out of fear that he might lose his most precious asset, the crazy demon extermination godly armor, forever. Now the scene shifts to our Luo Feng, whose ship easily rips through that violent magma vortex and finally emerges safely into a completely new and peaceful region. This new area was called the Yangshuo Lake, or the Blazing Water Lake. Seeing them emerge safe and sound, Babata breathes a sigh of relief and begins to cheer joyfully, exclaiming, "Wow, Luo Feng! We have come out alive from that dangerous well of death." But before the two of them could even take a peaceful breath, another fresh crisis stands right in front of them, because stopping their path ahead, a very strange and highly powerful cultivator was already waiting. As soon as Luo Feng looks at the uniform of that unknown master, he instantly recognizes that this dangerous warrior belongs to none other than the dreaded Purple Moon Holy Land. As you all know, only 2 eternal Holy Lands rule over the entire universe ocean. The first is the East Emperor Holy Land, and the second is this very Purple Moon Holy Land. Babata immediately explains the entire history of that warrior to Luo Feng, saying, "Luo Feng, you can gauge the true strength of these Purple Moon warriors by looking at the projection of the moon glowing behind them, the moon phantom. If the moon visible behind them is a full moon, completely round and complete, it means he is a warrior of pure blood lineage, who possesses a highly dangerous potential to cause destruction. And the warrior standing right in front of us at this moment has a moon behind him that is an almost perfect full moon, meaning his combat strength is also directly on par with our Primal Chaos City leader and the 5 Chaos Master." By the way, for the novel readers, a small fun fact: in the original text, the purity of this race was determined by the number of their hands and faces, but the Donghua used the glowing moon symbol behind them to keep it simple and visually appealing. Babata reveals the name of that dangerous warrior, saying, "His name is the Titular Master." Luo Feng steps forward very politely to keep the atmosphere calm and greets him with a formal bow. He explains perfectly calmly, "Master, I was just passing through this path. I have no intention of staying in this blazing water lake or causing any trouble," because he knew that this entire sector comes directly under the jurisdiction and control of the Purple Moon Holy Land. But that arrogant Titular Master completely ignores Luo Feng's diplomatic greeting, as if he hadn't heard a thing. His murderous eyes were fixed straight on Luo Feng's glowing silver wings, and he was deeply fascinated by them inwardly. With a strange smile he says, "Boy, some very interesting rumors regarding silver wings have already reached my ears, and today they are right before me." Hearing this, Luo Feng's mind grows alarmed, and he instantly understands that this Titular Master's greedy gaze has also fallen upon his Shiwu wings, and he has made up his mind to snatch them. But what a pity, friends. Look at the twist that right here this explosive episode of our series comes to a complete end. How will our Luo Feng protect himself from the clutches of the Titular Master, the powerhouse of this dangerous and supreme Holy Land? Will he be able to trick him with his cleverness, or will he have to fight the biggest battle of his life here? We will find all of this out in the next part of this blockbuster video coming next week, so be entirely ready for it. Guys, that was our video for today. How did you all like today's video? Do let me know down in the comments. Its next part will also come very soon, guys, and the upcoming episodes are going to be even more interesting and fun. That's why, if you haven't subscribed yet, do it quickly. Alright then guys, see you in the next video.